What do Londoners think of their river? Well, like Joseph Conrad, we see it as a place of light and as a place of darkness. Most of this video was shot on a city cruise in October 2013, on rather a dull day. The waterman's commentary can be heard, and he represents the city's cockney heritage. The River Thames is a place of greatness, cruelty and folly. Our rulers have been selfish and greedy. Most of our architects have been fools. Yet the people remain cheerful, cynical and long-suffering. What their river now needs is good landscape architecture.
We'll start here on the left, folks. The Tower of London, William the Conqueror's famous fortress. Been around since 1067. Originally a wooden stockade, but over the years it's turned to stone. They've added more towers, more walls, more buildings. If you had your head chopped off with the axe, it meant you were important. But if you were more important, royalty, they used a sword to cut your head off, because that was much sharper. One slash, your head was off its shoulders. When they used the axe, it was quite blunt. It might have taken 4 or 5, 6 chops before your head was removed. All very gruesome to start the day off, I realise, but if you like gruesome stories, go and visit the Tower of London. There is over 900 years of gruesome history. And as you can see, folks, we're turning the boats, and here on the left is a great view of Tower Road Bridge. Now, of course, this is the one that opens to let big ships in and out of London. It opens on average 500 times a year. The glass building there on the northern tower, the left-hand one, this is the entrance to the exhibition. Pay £8 for an adult. They'll let you walk up that northern tower, across the upper level walkway, and then back down the southern tower. So that's one of our best value things. Google Tower Bridge lifts. You'll get a full list of all the bridge lifts occurring in the next 2 months. This round glass building on the left hand side is where Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, has his office. They spent £52 million on Boris's office. We can't blame Boris though. It was actually Ken Livingstone, the previous mayor, who spent that money. The worst thing about the spending was actually the £2 million given to a consulting firm to think up a name for it. Now they thought about it for a month, and they came up with the name City Hall. A stunning achievement, that one, isn't it? 5 minutes down the pub, we could have sorted that out. On the right left here is HMS Belfast, a town-class cruiser built in Belfast, the Harland and Wolff shipyard, launched 1939. Her main guns are 6-inch guns. They can fire a shell or one of those screaming children up to 14 miles. They last fired in anger during the Korean War, when she was NATO's flagship. As you can see, there are 9 decks to visit. You can climb all over the boat. Over to the right now, folks, there's this new building here with the cranes on top, the black face on the front of it. Now, they call it the walkie-talkie, this building. If you have a look where they put the black, this southern face is actually a large curved mirror. And about a month ago, when we had hot sunshine here in London, this curved mirror was reflecting the sunlight down into the streets below, a road called Cheapside. And they were recording temperatures beneath this building of around 70 degrees Celsius, 158 degrees Fahrenheit. A gentleman parked his very expensive Jaguar car beneath the building. He came back 2 hours later. It had melted. Many of the body panels had warped. The wing mirror basically had completely melted off. The media turned up with their frying pans and started cooking eggs from the heat reflecting from this building. So it's not they don't call it the walkie-talkie anymore. It's now known as the walkie-scorchie. That's what they call it. And the worst thing about this story, actually, folks, is the architects of this building built exactly the same building in Las Vegas. It did the same thing, but they didn't learn from their mistakes a while ago. Clearly, they just didn't think we had any hot sunshine in the UK, and they're wrong. Anyway, now the first bridge we're going to pass beneath is London Bridge. We can tell it's London Bridge because it's carved into the stonework. Look left and right. The name, a nice picture for you. This is the 5th bridge in this location. Over the years, they have all fallen down. They've fallen down. They've been knocked down by floods, burnt down. The last bridge sank into the mud, so we sold it to the Americans. They bought it for £1 million. And I've heard when this one falls down, we're going to give it to the Australians as compensation for losing the cricket again this year. For all the children, young and old, here on the left is a pirate ship. There we go. This is the Golden Hind, Sir Francis Drake's vessel. A working seagoing boat that's been around the world twice. Great afternoon or a great day out for the whole family, really. The children can get lost on the ship, dressed up as pirates, drink grog, eat biscuits full of weevils. The parents, they can sit in the pub next door and drink like pirates. So really a traditional day out for the whole family. For the adults, have a look to the right quickly, a glass box beneath the bridge. Now if you're lucky, or very often, we see semi-naked people in that box because it is a luxury relaxation health spa. Now they thought they were clever hiding it under the bridge, away from the prying eyes of the public. They forgot about the passenger boats that pass here every 10 minutes or so. And as you can imagine, some days are better than others. Some days are awful, it really shouldn't be allowed, but yesterday it was so good, folks, we actually turned the boat around and went back for another look. It was that good. And Southwark Road Bridge, this is London's least used bridge. It's very difficult to find. A lot of one-way streets, no entry signs to be up here. Ironically built to reduce congestion from London Bridge that we pass beneath. Now for the lovers of the performing arts, over on the left, coming up is a white building, a white timber building with a thatched roof. This is the Globe Theatre, Shakespeare's playhouse. Now this is the only building in London that's got a thatched roof. It was opened in 1997. It's an open-air theatre. During the summer, May to September, you can come and watch Shakespeare's plays performed here. And they always do it traditionally. No lighting, no microphones are used. And the other building on the left with the big chimney is the Tate Modern Art Gallery, the largest collection of modern art in the world. It looks like a power station, because that's what it used to be. But it's free to go inside, folks. For those of you who know anything about modern art, you'll understand why it's free to go inside. And the Millennium Footbridge, this is the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge, opened by the Queen in June 2000, closed by the police 10 hours later. It wobbled violently sideways, people were falling over, so it remained closed for 18 months basically while they fixed the issue. Check out YouTube when you get home, just type in Wibbly Wobbly Bridge London, you'll see what I mean. It was a spectacular failure. And have a look quickly to the right, lovely view of St Paul's Cathedral, dominating the skyline here in the city. It is Christopher Wren's masterpiece, opened in 1710. It took them 35 years to build, and they buried the architect inside. He's directly beneath the big dome, and also buried at St Paul's the Iron Duke Wellington, and Florence Nightingale, and also Lord Admiral Nelson. The bridges ahead of us, these are the Blackfriars bridges, folks. The tide is coming into London at the moment, it's rising. And if you look at the water running past and through the bridges, it's probably doing about 3 or 4 knots at the moment. We do have a rise and a fall here on the River Thames of anything between, well, on average 6.5 metres, but on a spring tide when the moon is full, or full, it's almost full this week, isn't it? We're going to have 7.5 metre tides in a couple of days, so it's a significant rise and fall. The old City of London School for Boys is here on the right, this white building with the 4 men at the front and the green sloping roof. There's been a school on this site since 1441. Winston Churchill and Lord Asquith went to school here. Churchill was a naughty schoolboy. He was thrown out for fighting. He went to Harrow instead to complete his education. Now folks, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but while we've been drifting along the Thames, you haven't been bombarded by advertising. This is the Queen's Highway, the River Thames. It's actually illegal to advertise your products along the banks. Now the red brick building to our left is Stamford Wharf, and this was for many years the home of the Oxo company, those people who make gravy. And Oxo got round this advertising ban. If you look carefully at the windows in the tower above the building, they spell the word Oxo. Now they were taken to court for doing this. In their defence, they said it was just a coincidence that the windows in the tower above their building spelt Oxo. They said it was a coincidence that every night they illuminated those windows in bright red lights. They won the court case, amazingly, using this defence, and for the last 60 odd years they've had free advertising here on the River Thames. The Wellington on the right here is an old Grimsby class sloop from the Second World War. It is, well, today a museum and also a drinking club for retired sea captains, master mariners. This is where they hang out. And the roadway we see on the right is known as the Victoria Embankment, and it's all reclaimed land, this. They built the Victorian sewage system in the 1860s, and they plonked the road on top of it to hide it. And all the way along the embankment you see the green lions' heads. Now they're just decorative, they're not used for mooring, but the Victoria Police did use them as a flood warning indicator. During their patrols, they kept an eye on the lions, and if the water reached the lions' mouths, they had to close the underground stations along the river and issue a flood warning. To help them do this, they came up with a rhyme. You might have heard it before. Join in if you haven't. It goes, if the lions are drinking, then London is sinking. A lovely old rhyme. There's a slightly more modern version somebody came up with 30 years ago, which goes, if the lions' heads are ducked, then London is well and truly flooded. Now that version doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily, does it? But that's the modern version. Waterloo Road Bridge, we're passing beneath now. London's longest bridge, 1/4 of a mile long. Look how clean the face of the bridge is, how very dirty it is underneath. It's made from Portland stone, a self-cleaning limestone from Dorset. Basically every time it rains in London, the face of the bridge cleans itself. Where the rain can't penetrate, the underneath remains dirty. And coming up on the right is Cleopatra's Needle, London's oldest monument. It's 3,500 years old, older than London itself. They made these things in pairs all the time. The sister needle to this one is in Central Park, New York City. And if you look at the bottom of the obelisk, there's 2 sphinxes. If you go around the rest of the world, when you find one of these obelisks, the Sphinx is always face outwards, guarding the needle. They just got it wrong here in London. They put them facing in, admiring the needle. They only noticed once the concrete had set, so they just left it as it was. Now the last bridge we're going to pass beneath on our trip for this section is Charing Cross Railway Bridge. If there's anybody up there, give them a big cheesy smile and a wave, folks, because if they wave back to you, then they're not throwing things. So there's definitely an advantage behind it. And that is definitely the children you need to watch out for with their chocolate milkshakes from McDonald's. They don't chuck them, they just take the lid off and pour them. So that's it. Give them a big smile and a wave. Anybody up there? Come on, you miserable lot. Give us a wave. Anybody wave? You're not even waving, so how are they? If you get covered in milkshake, don't blame me. There's another bridge this side, folks. Have another. So there we go, folks. Here on the left is the London Eye. It's the world's 4th largest observation wheel, 135 metres tall. On a clear day from the top, you can see 25 miles in all directions. The latest craze here in London, getting married on the London Eye. Costs you £2,500 to get married here. Basically, you get on the bottom. During your 15-minute voyage to the top, you go through your wedding vows, and very romantically right at the top, they stop the wheel for you, looking down over the streets of London. You're pronounced man and wife, you get to kiss the bride, and then it's pretty much all downhill from there, isn't it? Well, until you get off the bottom, the happy couple. And there's a bit of traffic around, folks, but what we're going to do is try and turn the boat around, turn it sideways, give you all a lovely view of wrong bit, of the Houses of Parliament. And if we're very quiet, you could hear Big Ben banging in the background. Well, it stopped. Anyway, so there we go. We're going to try and turn the boat. Big Ben, of course, has just chimed 12 o'clock. And Big Ben is the nickname for the bell, the hour bell that you've just heard, folks. The clock tower that you're all busy taking pictures of officially is known as the Great Clock at Westminster, or now, after the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, it is now the Elizabeth Clock Tower. So you can't actually see Big Ben from the River Thames, because it's a big bell inside a big clock. So there's a nice bit of useless information for you. The Palace of Westminster is, of course, well, it's probably the most spectacular building on the Thames. It was opened by Queen Victoria in 1852. And this is the seat of the British government, where we make all of the laws here in this country. So there you go, folks. There's a bit of traffic. There's a big tug charging up behind us as well, so we've just got to be careful as we turn the boat. So soon you're going to have a nice view of the palace. Now we are going to make our way over to Westminster Pier. For those of you hiding downstairs, or you didn't bring your camera today, if you'd like to get a picture of the Houses of Parliament, just go to Tesco's or Sainsbury's when you get home. Go and buy a bottle of HP brown sauce. On the front of every bottle is a lovely picture of this building. And you've got some tasty sauce for your chips as well. Absolutely fantastic. Alright, folks, so we're going to make our way to Westminster Pier. When we leave this pier, folks, the boat goes back to the Tower of London and then down to Greenwich. A very short stop at Waterloo Pier. So if you want the return journey, just stay on this boat. If you are jumping off, look around you now, folks. Make sure you've got all your belongings. Don't leave anything on the boat to ruin your day. And if I can now ask you just to return to your seats, have a sit down as we come alongside in case we have a bump. If you're in charge of a group and you know they don't understand what I'm talking about,